anyone thinking that ranking the solo leveling characters from weakest to strongest is an easy task, well, think again, because even Jinwoo, that almost everyone thought would be taking the #1 spot in our list, is actually ranked lower than one character. And get ready, because that is not the only surprise in our list, as we have another 3 highly controversial rankings in today's video. I mean, do you think Big Yoon-ho is stronger than Choi Jong-in? Or the opposite? How about when you make it even more difficult and compare those two with Cha Hae-in? How would you rank those 3? Or how about Yuri Orlov when compared to Goto Ryuji? Or damn, an even harder ranking is between Beru and Liu Zhigang. Let's see if by the end of the video, we can change your mind about some rankings. For the positions of 35 to 33, we have 3 candidates: Big Yoon-ho, Choi Jong-in, and Cha Hae-in. How would we rank them? Well, hear me out. When comparing Choi Jong-in with Big Yoon-ho, only one of them was given the title of the ultimate soldier, and that someone was Choi Jong-in. But does this mean that Choi Jong-in was stronger than Cha Hae-in as well? Not exactly, because even though Cha Hae-in was lower ranked in the Hunters Guild than Choi Jong-in was, there was a reason Cha never received the recognition she deserved, and thus only remained a lieutenant in the Hunters Guild. You see, Cha never wanted any attention. I mean, even when she was evaluated as an S-rank hunter, she requested her info to remain private. And that's exactly the reason that, despite being repeatedly stated in the story that Hunter Cha had surpassed Choi Jong-in, she never really got acknowledged for it. With all that in mind, at number 35, we have Big Yoon-ho, the Beast Hunter. As an S-rank hunter, Big is one of the top hunters in Korea. However, he is shown to be the weakest for his rank, given by how easily he was defeated by some of the Japanese S-rank hunters. Yeah, he was not going all out, but still, Big is able to transform into a tiger-like humanoid monster with white fur, purple-white hair, sharp claws, and prominent fangs, which significantly increases his strength and speed. He is also able to partially transform and choose which specific parts of his body to transform, as displayed when he only transformed his hands and hair during his sparring match with Kumamoto. Number 34, Choi Jong-in, the ultimate soldier. Choi Jong-in is a Korean S-rank hunter and the long-lost twin brother of Aizen Sasuke. Nah, seriously, Choi Jong-in was the guild master of the Hunters Guild, and he was known for his refined, elegant, and highly powerful fire magic. He was by far the strongest mage-type hunter in Korea, and let me tell you, his firepower was no joke. I mean, he was rumored to be able to destroy a friggin' building with a single spell. His flames were powerful enough to wipe out entire hordes of ants and incinerate an entire group of earth giants in a matter of seconds. He also had a variety of spells, including Flame Spear, Flame Prison, and Flame Dragon, just to name a few. Number 33, Cha Hae-in, the strongest simp in solo leveling. Cha is the 3rd strongest hunter in Korea after Go Gun-hee and Jinwoo, with the latter initially believing that she and Gun-hee would even be on the same level of power. Goto Ryuji also considered her competent enough to give his guild's best hunters a run for their money, and even the Ant King considered her to be the most dangerous out of all the Korean hunters in the Jeju Island raid party. Cha is a master swordsman, as shown by how proficient and creative she can be by using even unorthodox ways to kill monsters in the most efficient way possible. As a testament to her sword fighting skills, she was even able to easily defeat Igris during their sparring session. Truth be told, Igris had his power sealed at that time, and he was also probably holding back. But still, not many hunters could even come close to Igris, let alone defeat him. Number 32, Wong Dong-soo, the biggest meathead of solo leveling. Having said that, even though he was indeed a meathead, his strength was surely not up for debate. Even though we do not know for sure what his original rank as a hunter was, we do know he was later reawakened, and thus received the rank of an S-rank. Not only that, but Wong was considered a cut above typical S-rank hunters because he was actually further upgraded by Norma Selner. His strength was so recognized that he actually received an enormous offer from the USA to leave Korea and join the guild of Thomas Andre. Truth be told, we only saw him having 2 fights in the series. In both occasions, he got packed, once by Papa Song and once by Goat Song. But yeah, in reality, almost every character in this series would face the same fate if they were put against those 2 monsters. Moving on, we have once again a debatable ranking for the next 2 characters. Before that, don't you think you're forgetting something? You watched all the way until here, so you might as well click that subscribe button. On this channel, we only post top-notch content, so I'm sure you're gonna love it. But back to our ranking. Number 31, Yuri Orlov, the Russian disappointment. But why exactly this nickname? Well, Yuri was so overhyped and so overconfident in his abilities that he thought no one would ever be able to break free from his barriers. And truth be told, most people believed so as well. You see, the Japanese government did not hesitate to agree to his price tag of $10 million per day in exchange for him sealing the huge gate in Tokyo. But what actually happened there? Well, all it took for the giant was a single strike, and Yuri's barrier was no more. But okay, let's not completely disregard his actual feats. After all, he was quite strong, even with that disappointing performance in Tokyo. I mean, we saw him being at a completely different level when compared to other S-rank hunters. Just by himself, he was able to easily completely restrain both Kare and Hoshino without much trouble, both of which are S-rank hunters. Number 30, Goto Ryuji, the Japanese fraud. Why exactly fraud? Well, for 2 reasons. First was that he was literally trying to trick the Korean members into becoming sacrifices forces, and thus, in a sense, tried to stab them in the back while also taking care of the Jeju Island dungeon break. The second reason this guy was a fraud, my guy really thought he could defeat Jinwoo. Beru, that at the time was going by the title of Ant King, was literally on a whole different level when compared to him. Yeah, truth be told, the Ant King did sense that he was the strongest hunter of the operation and thus moved to kill him first. However, how can you hope to be stronger than Jinwoo when you can't even defeat the Ant King? Hence the nickname, Japanese Fraud. But once again, he wasn't exactly weak. Quite the opposite, in fact. In his sparring match with Jinwoo, even though Jinwoo was holding back, he did seem like a bit of a threat to him when the latter was not being serious. Once again, he was the strongest Japanese hunter for a reason. Number 29, Lennart Nierman, the strongest German hunter. Lennart was not only the strongest hunter in Germany, but actually the 12th strongest hunter in the world. Lennart is heavily implied to outclass every other foreign hunter introduced before him in the series, aside from the national level hunters, of course. As a testament to this, he was able to sense the presence of the massive army of shadows concealed inside Jinwoo's shadow, something not even Goto Ryuji was able to do. And because of that, he rightfully deserves to be placed higher than Ryuji. Even though we did not really see him in action a lot, his title as the 12th strongest hunter in the world speaks on its own, and thus allows us to form a pretty good guess for how strong he really was. Number 28, Jonas. Jonas was the strongest hunter in Brazil, ranking 6th in the world. As the vessel of a ruler, Jonas was one of the strongest hunters in the world. Unfortunately, the full scale of his powers was never put on display, as he was killed in an off-screen fight. Therefore, the best we can do is give a rough estimate for how strong he was. Next, we have the first shadow for today's video. Number 27, Tusk, the High Orc Shadow. Just like we explained in a previous video ranking Jinwoo's shadows, Tusk is without a doubt, no joke, being the shadow of Kargalgan, aka the boss of a top-tier A-rank dungeon. Tusk only grew further after becoming a shadow. I mean, he was literally able to slaughter hundreds of demons with a single fire spell, and kill a giant in one hit. Oh, and yeah, that giant, by the way, the same type of giant that made Yuri Orlov a snack. Tusk is a proficient mage specializing in all kinds of magical spells, utilizing fire, gravity, and even manipulation of his opponent's emotions. And the fact that he could constantly regenerate due to the Shadow Monarch's ability, Tusk could defeat every character so far mentioned. Number 26, Baran, the clone of the original Monarch. As mentioned, this character is not the real Baran, but rather a clone that the architect created as a step for Jinwoo to level up. This clone was placed in the Demon Castle's 100th and final floor. Even though Jinwoo eventually managed to defeat him, let me tell you, this was no easy task, despite the fact that Jinwoo at this stage was already insanely strong. Number 25, the Statue of God. As the architect's strongest puppet, the Statue of God was an immensely powerful individual. His skin was so tough that the Demon King's daggers only left scratches on its face, forcing Jinwoo to change tactics and fight it with his bare hands. And even then, it was able to withstand an entire volley of punches from him before finally going down. Oh, and did I mention that this guy could shoot lasers from his eyes? Yeah, the Statue of God was able to fire superheated beams of energy from its eyes. According to Jinwoo, these beams of energy were so potent that even he wouldn't have survived a direct hit from them at the time. Number 24, the 5th unknown national level hunter. Apart from the fact that this hunter fought and helped defeating Kamish alongside the other 4 national level hunters, the only other thing we know is that this hunter is a healer. It is estimated to be a vessel for a ruler, given that the other 4 national level hunters follow the same pattern. However, this is still not confirmed. It is also possible that this hunter was ranked as the 5th strongest hunter in the world, given that we do not know anyone else occupying that position. But once again, this is not yet confirmed. Number 23, Siddhartha Bachchan. Siddhartha is the strongest hunter in India and one of the 5 national level hunters, ranking 4th in the world. Once again, besides his name, rank, and that he fought Kamish, we know absolutely nothing about him. But given the level of other hunters ranked below him in the world rankings, it's fair to argue he is stronger than the God statue. But even stronger than that, and significantly stronger than the Statue of God, is obviously the mastermind behind them. Number 22, the Architect. As the creator and moderator of the system, the Architect was immensely powerful. When it comes to strength, he was able to send Jinwoo flying with one punch and push him to his limit over the course of their battle. He also moved so fast that Jinwoo initially had trouble reacting in time to his attacks. He appeared to be evenly skilled in both hand-to-hand and sword-based combat, and was able to easily match Jinwoo in technique regardless of whether they were wielding weapons or not. How about durability? He was able to quickly recover after Jinwoo punched him square in the face, and was able to keep moving normally even after Jinwoo cut off his arms and slammed him into the ground. His most important abilities, the Architect was able to effortlessly control his statues like puppets. Not only that, he had near absolute power over the system and was able to manipulate it however he pleased, to the point that he could have stripped Jinwoo of his powers had Ashbourne not locked him out of it first. And a final cherry on top, he was also able to use Ruler's Authority, an ability available only to the strongest characters in the series. Number 21, Go Gun-hee. Now, I don't know if it's just me, but if you watched One Piece, please tell me I'm not the only one that gets the same vibes from him as I do from Garp, old characters that retired but still remain insanely strong when going all out, even at this age. Let me tell you, if we considered his prime days, which unfortunately we never saw, then he would certainly be placed higher in our list. As the vessel of a ruler, Gun-hee was one of the strongest hunters in the world, and probably the 2nd second strongest hunter in Korea after Jinwoo. However, his old age prevented him from using his powers to their maximum, and fighting for prolonged periods of time only caused his body to deteriorate. He was able to give the Frost Monarch a good fight, and even though he ultimately lost, let me tell you, he only did so because his body could not stand his own powers to the maximum. Number 20, Christopher Reed, the third strongest hunter in the world and one of the 5 national level hunters. As the vessel of a ruler and a national level hunter, Chris was one of the strongest hunters in the world. Unfortunately, the full scale of his abilities were never displayed, as he was killed in action in an off-screen fight. What we do know is that 3 monarchs had to jump him in order to be sure they could take him. In that short battle, we saw that he was able to use ruler's authority and spiritual body manifestation, with which Chris was able to transform into a one-eyed giant with flaming light orange hair. The flames he generated with his ability were so potent that it took 14 S-rank hunters to successfully extinguish them. Number 19, Song Suho, the current prince and the future king. Suho is the son of Song Jinwoo, and that should be enough for you to understand that this guy's potential is off the charts. His growth was surely way faster than even his father's, as we saw him defeating almost all of his father's shadows while leveling up in an enormous pace. We did say almost all of them, as some shadows like Igris and Beru were still holding back when fighting him, but the point remains, with a bit more training and guidance from his father, Suho will probably one day even surpass his father. Number 18, Igris, the loyal shadow. As a martial grade shadow, Igris is an immensely powerful individual. Yeah, he was defeated by Song Jinwoo and during his very first steps, but hear me out. This was before Igris' powers were unsealed. When unsealed, he is one of the strongest shadows in Jinwoo's army and is only rivaled by Beru and surpassed by Bellion. I mean, this shadow was literally able to hold off the Frost Monarch on his own, long enough for Jinwoo to return to the battlefield. Did I mention that only elite characters in solo leveling could use lightning? Yeah, Igris could generate lightning with pretty much every swing of his sword. Okay, the next 2 rankings are debatable. After all, we will indeed rank one of the strongest shadows of Song Jinwoo and a national level hunter. Let's see if you agree with our selection here or not, and feel free to let us know what you think in the comments down below. Number 17, Beru, the strongest drama queen in history. Just like Igris, Beru is also martial grade shadow, so why did we rank him higher than Igris? Well, that's another debatable ranking to be honest, but yeah, we explained our reasoning in a previous video. When it comes to Beru's abilities now, we will only briefly mention them since, again, we spoke about them in length in our previous video about Jinwoo's shadows. Beru was without a doubt insanely strong, to the point that he could even hold his own against friggin' monarchs. Let's not forget, he fought against both the Frost Monarch and Queretia. He was immeasurably fast, to the point that not even Hunter Cha was able to react to his attacks. He could manipulate his size in order to gain more speed or strength, depending on what he needed more during battle. He could use healing magic that was on par with an A-rank hunter, and he could even spit a powerful poison capable of killing a target within seconds. But having said all that, was Beru stronger than the next character? Highly debatable. But since we had to rank them, we believe that this next character might have a bit of an upper hand. Number 16, Zhigang, the second strongest hunter in the world and one of the 5 national level hunters. As the vessel of a ruler and a national level hunter, this dude stands on business. He was considered the strongest hunter in Asia until Jinwoo surpassed him in strength and was noted to be vastly superior to Goro Ryuji, an elite hunter even among S-rank hunters. Liu was able to behead a giant before it even had a chance to counter his attack, a sign of both crazy speed and power. Just a single energy blast is enough to easily wipe out an entire army of ants. As a host of a fragment of brilliant light, Zhigang also has access to ruler's authority, something that, once again, only elite characters in the series do. Number 15, Thomas Andre, the strongest hunter in the world and one of the 5 national level hunters. Listen to this. Even elite S-rank hunters trembled in his presence, and rightfully so. Not many people can say that they sent Song Jinwoo flying during a serious fight, even if Song Jinwoo was obviously not defeated by that. Still, this stuff is mad impressive. Thomas could tank an insane amount of blows from even far stronger opponents than him, including the likes of Song Jinwoo or even fully fledged monarchs like Rakan. When using capture, as admitted by Jinwoo, this attack is almost like a black hole in potency. This dude can create shockwaves with his fists, and when using his spiritual body manifestation, he's literally able to fight on par with monarchs, even for a brief amount of time. Number 14, Kamish, humanity's greatest calamity. When the first S-rank gate ever spawned in America, Kamish emerged from the portal and laid waste to the entire West Coast area, slaughtering hundreds of S-rank hunters in his path. His rampage only ended after the last 5 surviving S-rank hunters banded together and successfully killed him. His power was so massive that the 5 hunters that worked together to defeat him received the legendary status of national level hunters. If that does not show how strong Kamish really was, then I don't know what does. His 2 most notable traits, other than his strength and durability of course, were his Dragon's Fear, where he was able to release a mana-infused shout that would drive those weaker than him into a state of intense despair and panic, and Dragon's Breath, which, as the name suggests, allowed Kamish to shoot insane blasts of fire from his mouth. Number 13, Bellion, the Grand Marshal. Now this shadow is without a doubt the strongest that ever served either of the Shadow Monarchs. This shadow could easily overpower Beru like it meant nothing. Despite his relatively big body, he moves at tremendously fast speeds, and he's shown to be unexpected unexpectedly agile during battle. He also carries a massive blade that looks like a centipede, which he wields both like a whip and a sword, allowing him to cover all weak spots in both short and long-range confrontations. Number 12. Yogamont, the king of demonic specters and the monarch of transfiguration. Yogamont was an old man with gray hair, light red eyes, and a blood-red blob symbol on his torso. But don't let his appearance fool you, because as a monarch, he was surely no joke. When Antares invaded the human world, Yogamont went along with him and attempted to help him crush Jinwoo by creating countless portals to summon out the rest of the dragon army. However, this plan ultimately failed, as Jinwoo was able to immobilize every single one of Antares' minions, including Yogamont himself, with Dragon Sphere. After Jinwoo asked the rulers to rewind time using the Cup of Reincarnation, Jinwoo began hunting down the monarchs of the Chaos World and taking them out one by one. 2 years later, after he had assassinated every other monarch except for Yogamont and Antares, Jinwoo confronted Yogamont alone and easily killed him in the ensuing battle. It's true that we did not really see much of Yogamont's actual strength, and because of that, we rank him as the weakest of the known monarchs. Number 11. Queracia, the queen of insects and the monarch of plagues. Queracia possessed immense physical strength. As a testament to this, she was able to punch Jinwoo hard enough to make him bleed and easily restrain Beru with her bare hands. She was also able to create giant glowing green hands out of mana, secrete an extremely concentrated toxin from her body, reanimate and control the dead using parasites, and even heal her injuries almost instantaneously, as displayed when she regenerated her entire body in seconds after Jinwoo sliced her in half. However, her regenerative abilities were ultimately proven to have their limits, as she was unable to regenerate her body for a second time after Jinwoo reduced her to mincemeat. And now we get to the top 10. From here onwards, we have the strongest among the strongest solo leveling characters. Number 10, the Frost Monarch and the King of Snowfolk. The Frost Monarch possessed immense physical strength, as proven by how he was able to evenly fight against Gulgun Heat while he was still holding back, and pushed Jinwoo to his limits just with brute force during their second battle. And was that all? Not quite, because as his title suggests, he was able to almost effortlessly create tremendous waves of ice, shape ice into weapons, create monsters out of ice, and even summon massive ice storms. He could also put ordinary humans to sleep just by snapping his fingers. He also showed to be strategic and self-knowing, as he understood he could not take a fully fledged Shadow Monarch on his own. Because of that, he teamed up with Rakan and Queracia in order to attack Jinwoo together. Although Queracia was killed during the course of the fight, the Frost Monarch was able to keep Jinwoo distracted long enough for Rakan to fatally impale the latter from behind, seemingly winning the battle. But when Jinwoo returned to life, well, all I'm gonna say is that I bet he must have regretted killing Chairman Gulgun Heat. I mean, Jinwoo unleashed the full scale of his wrath on him, and to be honest, I enjoyed every moment of it. Number 9, Tarnak, the king of monstrous humanoids and the monarch of the Iron Body. Tarnak was one of the 3 monarchs that ambushed and killed Christopher Reed. Although Chris activated his spiritual body manifestation to defend himself, he was still not strong enough to fend off all 3 of them. When Antares invaded the human world, Tarnak went along with him and confronted Thomas Andre upon spotting him on the battlefield. However, in his arrogance, he failed to notice that Thomas had come prepared and was caught completely by surprise when Bellion and Beru emerged from his shadow. Realizing that he had fallen right into Thomas and Jinwoo's trap, Tarnak attempted to contact Antares via telepathy, but was shocked to find out that Tusk had cut off his connection. Eventually, this overpowered trio managed to defeat and dispatch him. Number 8, Rakan, the King of Beasts and the Monarch of Fangs. Rakan was an aggressive and arrogant individual with an intense bloodlust towards those he regarded as his enemies. As the King of Beasts, his main weapons revolved around physical traits like advanced speed, strength, stamina, and regeneration. Several days after a gigantic gate spawned in the skies of Seoul, Rakan appeared out of the blue and started rampaging across the city, slaughtering hundreds of people in his path. Given that Jinwoo was weak and had yet to obtain his full strength, Rakan thought that this was the right time to take out the next Shadow Monarch. Although Thomas Andre did put up a good fight against him in an attempt to stop his massacre, Rakan easily defeated him once he stopped holding back and activated his spiritual body manifestation. But before he could kill Thomas, Leonard Neerman stepped up and blinded him with his charge skill. Jinwoo then smashed him into the ground with a well-placed axe kick. During their fight, with the help of the Frost Monarch and Queracia, Rakan was able to deal a what seemed to be final blow on Jinwoo. When Jinwoo returned back to life, Rakan attempted to hide in a forest located elsewhere in the human world, but soon realized that Jinwoo had followed him. Rakan bowed his head and begged for forgiveness. But yeah, Jinwoo killed him instead. Number 7, Legia, the King of Giants and the Monarch of the Beginning. Legia was a huge and muscular man with gray skin, long, messy black hair with a sloppy beard, and glowing red eyes. Even though it's true we did not really see much of his power, as again, he was actually captured by the rulers and restrained by mana-absorbing chains, we can indeed make a pretty good guess. Given that he was the King of the Giants, a fair guess would be to assume that he had under his command giants, which, let me tell you, they are no joke, especially if they come in numbers. Even one of them was on a completely different level than even Yuri Orlov. So once again, if Legia has giants under his command, then this would make him an insane threat if Jinwoo actually set him free and allowed him to run wild. Number 6. Baren, the King of Demons and the Monarch of White Flames. Here, we obviously have the original one and not the clone we previously analyzed eons ago. Baren fought alongside the other monarchs, including the Shadow Monarch Ashbourne, in a devastating war with the rulers. As the war progressed, Antares, the strongest monarch, grew fearful of Ashbourne's powers and ordered Baren and Rakan to take him out. However, Ashbourne brutally defeated both him and Rakan in the fight that followed, prompting the latter to flee the battlefield and leave Baren, who was too injured to move, behind to die. Some of his abilities include the power to summon his demon army via portals and even shoot lightning attacks from his mouth in case of 1v1 combat. Number 5. Song Il-hwan, the False Monster. Hwan was actually one of the first S-rank hunters in all of Korea. However, due to the fact that the ranking system didn't exist at that time, he was never recognized by the public for his strength. 10 years before the events of the main storyline, everything went wrong when Il-hwan got trapped inside a dungeon during a raid, leaving his family to presume him dead and his wife to raise their children on their own. Before he could die of starvation, however, Il-hwan was found by the rulers, who made him one of their 7 vessels. But in reality, how strong was Hwan? Okay, hear me out. We did rank him above most of the monarchs for a reason. During the Monarchs war arc, Il-hwan was able to send the Frost Monarch flying with just a kick and cause Rakan intense pain by stabbing him right through the jaw. And all of that while his body could not exert the full power of the vessels due to how long he held his power. I mean, remember, time within gates passes completely differently than outside, and Hwan did spend multiple years within gates. While using his full powers, Hwan was a monster. We believe he scaled higher than even most monarchs in solo leveling, if the fight were to be 1v1. Number 4. Ashbourne, the original Shadow Monarch. During his era, Ashbourne was regarded as the second strongest monarch behind only the character we will analyze next. He was strong enough to brutally overpower 2 monarchs at once in battle and pop Baron's skull like a grape with one hand. He could use ruler's authority, shadow exchange, and of course, shadow extraction, which made him the king of the dead, having in his army millions of loyal shadows ready to fight for him. Number 3. Antares, the king of dragons and the monarch of destruction. You see, Antares was both the strongest and the oldest monarch, as well as the final antagonist of solo leveling, being one of the most powerful individuals in existence. Only Ashbourne came close to him, and even when compared to Ashbourne, Antares was still slightly superior to the Shadow Monarch in raw power. Antares possessed almost unparalleled durability and was virtually invulnerable to physical trauma. As a testament to this, he was completely unfazed by most of Jinwoo's attacks and was able to continue fighting back as if nothing had happened, even after Jinwoo nearly split him in half. Antares was able to spit devastating torrents of fire from his mouth. The power of this attack was so great that it was able to instantly reduce the average S-rank hunter to ash, easily negate most of Jinwoo's attacks, and even erase shadow soldiers from existence. Plus, being the king of dragons, he had multiple insanely strong dragons under his command, many of which stated to be similar to Kamish in terms of raw strength. Number 2. Song Jinwoo, the actual strongest monarch to ever live. Not many things should be said about Song Jinwoo, as his actions speak for themselves. He, along with his army, were able to defeat Antares' army, and thus Jinwoo naturally deserves to be placed higher than him. Necromancy, insane speed, durability, strength, hand-to-hand ability, regeneration and healing, armor creation, and a bunch of insanely overpowered magical skills allowed this hunter to excel in every aspect of fighting, whether this was spells, summoning, swordsmanship, stealth, you name it, and Song Jinwoo could do it. But having said all that, who could possibly be stronger than Song Jinwoo? Well, it seems you're forgetting one very important character. Number 1, the Absolute Being. The Absolute Being was a god and the creator of both the monarchs and the rulers. As a god, the Absolute Being was the most powerful individual in all of existence and was able to create both inorganic and organic from nothing. He was able to create objects with otherworldly powers, such as the Cup of Reincarnation. Although he was eventually defeated when the rulers decided to rebel against him, the fact remains that this individual is indeed the strongest character in solo leveling. Check out this video where we create the strongest possible raid team in solo leveling. Go on, check it out!